So let's take a look at this. From a Giants perspective, they have money to spend. People weren't taking their money. Now that they hit the trade market, and quite frankly, I thought they got a steal. You're talking about a guy that should be good in the major leagues for the next 7 to 8 years in his prime, and the going rate of a salary for a great baseball player from the free agent market, it's $300+ million. I thought San Francisco made out well.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What do you make of this price tag here? Reportedly of $1.7 billion for a club that right now technically doesn't even have a home ballpark.
We don't see a lot of teams sold in Major League Baseball. I mean, if you go back to 2020, Steve Cohen bought the New York Mets for $2.4 billion. The only team sold since then was the Orioles last year, also for around $1.7 billion.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It was the first time, I think, in Dodgers history that the ballpark was full in the first inning. Everybody was there to see Shohei Ohtani throw his first pitch as a Dodger, and I had mixed emotions about this for a few reasons. Number one, it was a reminder of, wow, this is so crazy, right? You're watching him hit 98, 99, even 100 on the radar gun going, this guy's not human. Nobody should be able to be this good of a hitter or this good of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scott, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. You know, don't worry about the first 5 innings. Like, don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger game. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions live with you here on SportsGrid on a Thursday night. Kevin Walsh with you as we follow up the NBA draft round number 1 yesterday. Today you will see round number 2. There are some odds out, odds that have been on the move, by the way, if you are so interested. 31st overall, where Minnesota currently holds that pick. It is now a minus number for Rasheer Fleming to go in that slot. One of maybe the most notable round 1 fallers through the odds, had a draft position posted at 26.5. Maxime Reynaud actually had an over-under draft position of 27.5, and he's currently a minus 120 favorite to go at pick 32, a pick owned by the Boston Celtics, many believing that Reynaud would be Boston's pick in round 1. Perhaps they can make that selection here in round number 2. The main event, though, on this slate tonight, I think does come to us from the Major League Baseball world, where you do have 2 games ongoing right now with the Twins and the Mariners, and then the Giants getting smoked by the Miami Marlins, so that one close to finishing. And we've played a few games already today. Not a lot of scoring out there in the early portion of the Major League Baseball slate. But the one game left, it's Mets-Braves. And it feels a little important when you consider it's a June 26th game. I think it's an important one. The Mets have struggled mightily in their last 12 games. They have lost 10 of 12, tied with the Minnesota Twins for the worst mark in that run. It has left the Mets tied atop this division at 47-34 with the Philadelphia Phillies. The Braves, 9 back, is notable, but when you consider how much baseball they had to play without Ronald Acuna Jr., add in Spencer Strider, because both of those guys are getting better and better, and it feels like these head-to-head matchups, these divisional matchups, and I know there are less of them, but they are really impactful. And for the Mets to have this slide happen while playing so much division action, getting swept by Atlanta in Atlanta, first time swept all year, losing 2 out of 3 in Philadelphia, dropping the first 2 in this series, the Mets have an opportunity to salvage something here before they can go and turn their eyes to some non-divisional games with Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, the Yanks, Baltimore, and Kansas City being the 5 series that remain for the Mets until they hit the All-Star break. This Mets run, though, of tough baseball is not as damaging as it would be to other teams because the New York Mets, before this 2-10 stretch, had the best record in the bigs. They were 45-24 on the season. Those hot starts are so valuable because it allows you to survive the dips. It's pretty similar to what's been going on with the Yankees in the American League side of it, where they're not playing their best baseball, but have still held off Tampa Bay and even Toronto, who are both right now playing some good ball. What's most fascinating of this run for the Mets is their worst stretch of baseball has somehow coincided with Juan Soto totally figuring it out. Through the first 55 games of the season, Soto seemed lost. Whether Juan Soto was worth his contract or not was something that you would expect to be decided in MVP count, World Series count, maybe the last 2 years of the deal. But not whether or not he is good, a la how the beginnings of the Francisco Lindor contract was being judged for Mets fans when he was not looking like an all-star level guy. But even the biggest skeptic of Soto would not imagine that the first 55 games of his season could look like that. It led to people wondering if Soto regretted his decision to be a Met, and it actually had more merit than it should. And then the cream rose to the top. A .338 batting average over his last 25 games, 11 home runs, which is the second most in Major League Baseball, 20 RBI, at nearly matching his first 55-game total, and 24 runs scored, which is also the second best in baseball. Soto also the second best on-base percentage in the bigs in the last 25 games that he's played. He just looks absolutely back. The question for the Mets is, can they now pair Soto having it all figured out and winning baseball games? I think when you look at the New York Mets, they knew that this for Soto was eventually going to come. Their manager spoke a little bit about Juan Soto and the start that he got off to, but the professionalism that he keeps about him and how he attacks the game, and that this type of run was likely on its way.
About witnessing history with Soto, first Met ever with a calendar month of 10 home runs, 20 walks, and 20 runs scored. While you guys have always talked about, hey, it's been Juan Soto throughout, what has been particularly unique about this month and what he's been able to put together?
I think the unique, just watching him go about his business day in and day out, how steady he is with his personality, the same guy that we saw early in the year when he seemed like the world was coming to an end because of Juan Soto wasn't hitting, and he's the same guy that we're seeing right now. So back then, he didn't get too low. Right now, he's not too high. Like that for me and for all of us is pretty impressive, that to see that type of consistency. And, through a stretch where we're not winning games, and it's hard for us. So that's what's pretty incredible. His routine, his personality, the way he's interacting with the players, with the coaches, with the support staff. That's what, for me, makes him who he is.
Look, I think it's commendable for Mendoza and even to say that, and for Soto to maintain that level of calm during a tough run. I also feel when you listen to Juan Soto speak after last night's game, you can tell it weighed on his mind and the multiple home runs mattered to him against Atlanta.
Pretty big reaction from you after that second home run. What was kind of in that for you?
I know what I was chasing and not at bat, so whenever I see the ball going, I feel really emotional right there, Definitely, we're still winning the game, helping the team to keep increasing the lead, but most important for me was when you look back at what I did and what I've been doing these past years, I think that's really special for me.
The question again is, can the Mets keep this going, get themselves a split in this series with Atlanta? I tend to think so. I tend to think the number actually is pretty affordable right now. It is on the move a little bit. This was a round pick, -110 either direction, now getting closer to -120 for the Mets. Our best bets tonight with the crew involved, Kofsky and Yarnell both will be heading over to this game as Chris will bring Soto into the fold, pair him with Matt Olson, each guy for a hit, +122. And then Acuna Jr., who, by the way, since he's come back, pretty much been the best hitter in baseball for multiple bags, is -120. That comes from Sam. I'll get into my best bet, Aja Wilson's over rebounds, after our break as we talk about Aces Mystics and what the Fever's outlook is for tonight's game with Caitlin Clark out. That's next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Live right here on SportsGrid, the WNBA board tonight. 2 games. It's going to feature the Indiana Fever and the LA Sparks. Then we get the Vegas Aces and the Washington Mystics. No Caitlin Clark tonight for Indiana. Spread 5.5 reflects her absence as the Sparks have really started to struggle to put wins up on the board. Total in this one is 168. The reality for the Fever is this is a different basketball team when Clark is not there. And that is expected. But it's not just a wins and losses thing. The totals for these games, way different when Caitlin Clark is in. They score 88.2 points per game. Nearly 12 more on average with Clark in the lineup. But the defense tends to step up. Perhaps it's a pace thing. It's hard to really sort through the WNBA analytics to figure out, is it pace? Is it opponent? Because they have played some of the lesser teams in her absence. But nevertheless, it is 7.3 points per game less allowed when Caitlin Clark is out there. Against the spread-wise, they're 6-3 against the number with Clark in. Just 2-3 against the number when she is out. That may be the big swing factor in the game. I'm going to let this one pass me by. But if I were to get in the mix tonight, I would look towards the LA Sparks on the road. That's how this number has continued to move as we're closer to tip. At last look, that 6 number has come down to 5.5 in at least one spot, and now I'm seeing a few others. For the Aces tonight, they are a 7-point favorite against the Washington Mystics, a true back-to-back for Vegas here, as they were home last night against the Sun. Winners of 2 in a row, they've now found themselves back up to 500 on the season. That is not supposed to be, hey, we're 500 again, a thing that you're happy about for Vegas. It has been a rocky start for this team. The best they've been able to do as it pertains to games over 500 is 2, when they were 4-2 this season. But they have a chance to get downhill. 7-point favorites against Washington here. Phoenix, yes, is playing good basketball, but the Aces will be on a little bit of a roll before playing Indiana on the road and then Connecticut on the road, an East Coast trip that finishes with the Liberty and the Mystics. It's not all pushovers, but if the timing is right, you could see Vegas not rip off 8 straight games, but 3 games above 500, get themselves in a position to start to feel good about the direction that they are trending. I mentioned before our best bet graphic. You saw all of them up there. Aja Wilson at even money to go for 10 rebounds tonight. I absolutely love. I think the books are kind of misreading Aja's most recent run of basketball. So her first 5 games of the season, she was averaging around 11.5 rebounds per game. Now, that is gaudy, but she averaged 11.9 last year. Kind of fell in line. They started to adjust the numbers. Sometimes we were seeing 12.5 listed for Aja Wilson. Her last 6 games, we've seen her average around 8.5 assists per game. Her rebounding average on the season is down to 9.6, mirroring really what we are seeing in the market. She's only had double-digit rebounds once in the last 6 games. But here's my pushback. So the first 5 games, 4 of the 5 she goes over. An under against Seattle, okay, that happens. The under against Golden State was impacted due to her leaving the game early with a concussion. Finished with just 6 rebounds. Okay, she doesn't get it in her first game back against LA, but right back to excellent rebounding Aja against Seattle, putting 14 on the board. A miss against the Fever, it happens, but the 8 rebounds she had against Connecticut were due to a blowout where I don't believe you even saw the starters for Vegas touch the floor really for a lot of that fourth quarter. They only played 27 minutes in the game overall. So the back-to-back games of single-digit rebounding, the stretch of single-digit rebounding, it's been impacted by injury and blowouts, and the 14-rebound game feels like that's being seen as the outlier. I don't agree. And also, it's a big boost in the way that the Mystics hang around. That, I think, is really important because we're just looking to avoid the blowout. In fact, Washington's been an opportunistic bunch. They just beat Dallas in overtime and followed it up by taking out Minnesota, who was without Nafisha Collier, yes, but the Lynx are still 12-2 this year. They had won their first 2 times they played in the season without Fee. So this isn't a Mystics team who will upset Vegas tonight if they're not on their P's and Q's. I really like Aja Wilson over 9.5 rebounds. I was surprised to see that at even money. Now, it did start the day at around plus 115 or so it has come down a little bit. but still not far enough. I think that should be 10.5, if not more. So that's where we are settling in on the WNBA board. I will just remind people, basketball-wise, you are getting the second round of the NBA draft tonight, and you are seeing the books willing to at least post odds for the first two picks with Rasheer Fleming as the favorite at 31. I would be cautious, though, at the -140 number. Fleming, if a team trades up, are they trading up for Rasheer Fleming? Possibly. But Minnesota is said to be willing to move out. And if a team is specifically looking to move up in front of Boston, they may be interested in Maxime Reynaud, who is the favorite to go 32 to the Celtics at what was a -120 number as we began this show, and you see there on our graphic 20 minutes ago, but is down to +105. If Reynaud were to go at 31, that would be a +900 and would likely open the door for the +250 on Ryan Kalkbrenner to cash, and the Fleming slide may continue. All stuff that you need to keep your eyes on here with the NBA draft in a little over an hour starting its second round. We'll talk to Coach about all of this in about 10 minutes, but some headlines that you might have missed are next here on Game Time Decisions.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scott, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. Don't worry about the first 5 innings. Don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger game. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game Time Decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course than okay, safe, right?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Some headlines around the sports world that perhaps you missed. Some betting news in Major League Baseball. Jacob Misiorowski, -120 to win NL Rookie of the Year, and some markets seem to be showing even stronger numbers than that. Why the move? Because Misiorowski found himself matched up yesterday against Paul Skeens in a head-to-head battle and won the battle. No other way to look at it. Misiorowski, 5 innings of 2-hit baseball, no earned runs, and 8 strikeouts. Skeens struggled, giving up 4 earned runs in just 4 innings with just 4 strikeouts. And an important note on the Mizorowski move is not just how he moved in the market, but how it impacted Chase Burns. We were here on Tuesday night for the Burns debut, where his 15-1 number before the start was underneath plus 400 before the 3rd inning. It looks as if Mizorowski's case of being a dominant young pitcher is really important to holding off Burns. And if it's going to go to a pitcher, it's going to go to Mizorowski. But Baldwin, being a hitter and maybe a soon-to-be everyday guy for Atlanta, is why he lands in the middle. Speaking of Atlanta, Ronald Acuna Jr. in for the home run derby in Atlanta. Love it. Acuna Jr. is a star. I wonder if he's going to ask to celebrate around every single one of the bases between each swing. What I do know is Ronald Acuna Jr. being at home suggests he may be booked as the favorite for this one. It just feels to me that when a guy participates in his home park, he has a leg up and an advantage over the rest of the field. And just some additional Ronald Acuna Jr. news. He now has found himself with the 5th best odds to win NL MVP, despite the fact that he has played 30 baseball games. That is how good Ronald Acuna Jr. has been. I'd listen to arguments legitimately that he should have the 2nd best odds for NL MVP, because it's going to be almost impossible to beat Ohtani, but if somebody's going to do it, it might just be Acuna Jr. Some NFL headlines you may have missed. One coming from a former Baltimore Raven. Their kicker, Justin Tucker, has been suspended by the National Football League. Justin Tucker, with an off-field allegation, eventually led to him being cut by the Ravens and is now suspended 10 games on top of it. It feels as if the real headline here is not that Tucker suspended for 10, but Justin Tucker has seen his NFL career come to a close. I don't know which team would invite the rightful public backlash on signing a kicker who wouldn't even be available for them for 10 games to start the season. It feels as like Justin Tucker has kicked his last ball for an NFL team. And then some news out of Tampa Bay, but extensions have come down for their general manager, Jason Licht, and their head coach, Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles, who had to step in for Bruce Arians, seemingly was a guy that was fighting for his job every single season. And yet Todd Bowles wins every single season the NFC South. The only teams that have made the playoffs as consistently as Bowles Bucks are the Eagles, Bills, and Chiefs. That's real. And Tampa Bay is favored to do so once again. They sit as an even money favorite in the NFC South, and it's a division that is typically ripe for the picking, and the Bucks have taken advantage. They do start their season, though, in what looks like a potential odds mover. On the road against Atlanta, who has the 2nd best odds in that division. If the Falcons were to win that game, it may be enough to flip the market. However, we have week 1 lines available, and albeit not a big favorite, Tampa Bay still a road favorite against the Falcons. It feels like for the first time in a long time, the Bucks are getting respect entering into this NFL season, and it looks like they appreciate the direction that things are trending, and it's why they are extending Jason Licht, their GM, and Todd Bowles, their head coach. We're coming up against the break here on Game Time Decisions. When we get back, Coach James Young takes us through the WNBA slate, his biggest takeaways from round number 1 of the NBA draft, and who to keep your eye on for round number 2.
can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scotty, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. Don't worry about the first 5 innings. Like, don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course and okay, safe, right?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions is here on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh with you. Coach James Young is here. Legitimately big breaking news in the NBA. If you can get involved, Shams Charania, we're looking at you. The odds for the 31st pick, which we mentioned Minnesota could be trading. They did trade to the Phoenix Suns, who sent out pick 36 and a couple of future second rounders to Minnesota. And Shams Charania followed up the trade report with telling us the Suns war room is eyeing St. Joe's big man Rasheer Fleming at pick 31. This is draft betting. That's what it is. Shams basically just said, hey, you know what the final score of the Super Bowl is? 24-20. The over-under, by the way, everybody, is 40.5. And if you're out there going, you think we should go over? He just tweeted out the final score. Rasheer Fleming, at the time of the tweet, was minus 140 to go 31st overall. Our team here, tracking every single second of that market, went from minus 140 to minus 160. Off the board it went. They reposted it again at minus 210 for mere moments and then gone. It appears that Rasheer Fleming will go 31st overall to the Phoenix Suns, and the market was out there for a very, very tight window to potentially be had. With all of that, we bring in our coach, James Young. JY, always a treat getting to work a draft with you. And we end up with a little more juice than I thought for pick number 31. Tell me what you think about Rasheer Fleming and the possible fit in Phoenix. Was this the best guy on the board?
Well, he was the best guy on my board. You know, it's even him and Noah Penda. Those are the two guys that I had first-round grades. They were in my top 30 that did not get picked. When you look at Rasheer Fleming, 6'8", about a 7'5" wingspan. Yikes, that's like a 7'47", Kevin. But athletic, shot blocking, 3-and-D type that I think could be a little bit of a different 3D, a little bit different than a Ryan Dunn, right? Like a little bit taller, longer in regards to its size. Could play the 4 or 5. Listen, he did shoot the ball from 3, not great. His first 2 years got better. So if you want to start thinking about, like, where do you look at him? You know, if you want someone new school, you could say, like, Big Ball Paul Reed. If you want to say a better version of Taj Gibson. If you want to go old school, you can go big, big smooth. I don't know if you know much about big smooth Sam Perkins, right? So this is a guy that, Phoenix has decided that, number one, they want to corner the center market by having 3 centers. We're going to figure out what they're going to do with Maliwatch, Nick Richards, and obviously Mark Williams. But getting Rasheer Fleming, someone that I had as basically my best player on the floor, athletic 2-foot leaper. A guy, if you want to look at Kevin, if he gets the time and minutes, he's going to be a stock guy. He's a steal plus block guy, right? Create defense in the offense. Good pickup by Phoenix, getting a guy that I had in the first round going at pick 31.
I think one of the things, JY, that does jump off of the board there for Phoenix, and I'm not even trying to do a bit, but they actually get a guy that will play a position that they currently have a hole at in terms of power forward, right? This team all of a sudden now has all this depth at center after drafting Kaman Malawach, a player you and I really like at 10. To be clear, they traded for Mark Williams right before drafting Malawach, and Coach and I like Malawach so much, while we were confused, we couldn't slander him because we knew that that was the right guy to get at 10. On the other side of it, they have all these guards that seem like 2 guards. I'm not saying I'm running to a Rasheer Fleming Rookie of the Year market, JY, but he's got a legitimate chance to start for this basketball team. Now, if they don't make other moves, maybe they'll just play small, but Fleming is a legitimate power forward.
Yeah, he's a legitimate power forward, and if they can get his 3-point shot better, I mean, you want to talk about like lockdown defense. You go Dunn Fleming 3-4. And then if you bring Malawach in, who I think, Kevin, I don't think he gets the credit for athletic. He's at 7'2". I know people are gonna be like, oh, he didn't get any rebounds versus Houston. Hey, listen, that's like getting a free steak dinner to a bunch of overweight guys like myself. Like you're not going to get through that line, right? So to me, Malawach is something that is going to be an intriguing front line. So now comes the fun part with them. They got to get rid of Bradley Beal. Just cut him, get rid of him, get him off the team. Now, if you're Devin Booker, you're like, stopper, stretch 3, stopper could be a stretch 4, a rim protecting 5. He's looking around saying, like, I mean, we could trade Mark Williams at the deadline. We could trade Nick Williams at the deadline. Like, we're not as, and then I forgot about obviously Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks. Like, Kev, he's looking around saying, like, we're not as bad as I thought we were going to be. We actually may be okay and competitive in a loaded Western Conference.
I think for Phoenix, you also get a guy in Fleming, a little bit older, right, JY? So if he does have 21. To play a little bit more, could potentially settle into that. I got to say, I wasn't actually expecting to run right to the draft with Coach. I hope you have did you have anything in Fever Sparks, JY? I know that game just got underway with the Caitlin Clark absence.
Fever minus the points. Aaliyah Boston over points plus rebounds. I think Aaliyah should be able to get busy. I still think the Fever win to come minus the 5.5. Remember, tomorrow night, nationally televised game. Does Caitlin Clark come back? Remember, it's a back-to-back. It's Paige Beckers. Tonight, not nationally televised. Tomorrow, nationally televised. Does Caitlin come back for that game because of the TV audience?
You know what? It's a good catch by you in that I initially looked at it because their game after Friday, JY, they then don't play until July 3rd. So I thought maybe they were like, we can give Caitlin 10 days off. Like, let's just do it.
But you know how the W works, Kevin. You know how the W works, and that lady
her first page is a big deal. First time, that's a big deal.
Yes. I will say this, folks, and I know, I got in trouble, especially with Big Ten Ben, when I said that I thought that Paige could be as good or better than Caitlin. I think you're 2 different players. More dynamic, like sexy player, it's Caitlin. But you want to talk about check the box, score, check the box, rebound, check the box, defense, check the box, pass, check the box. She doesn't do it in a sexy kind of way they're a lot better now. She's been back. Also, the kid Lee Yoru, the kid they got from Seattle Storm, because she couldn't get in front of Gabby Williams. She couldn't get in front of a woman case. She couldn't get in front of Megaberg. She couldn't get in front of Malanga. This girl's going over this 6'7", 6'6" Chinese kid. It's pretty good. So Dallas on the way up. Interesting game tomorrow night, especially if CC plays.
And here's what's interesting, JY. While I wouldn't have agreed of Paige can be as good as Caitlin, you might be right. Because Paige, it's a small sample size, but she is taking to the scoring part of her game, I feel, earlier than we would have thought. Like, she has already put up a 35-point performance, 3 other games in the 20s. Now, look, she can't control and dictate tempo the way that Caitlin can, but I've been impressed with Paige early season. JY, can we get you to stick around, pal? We got a lot going on in the association. That's my guy. We're back next right here on SportsGrid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
All right, we're live to right here on SportsGrid. JY, should we do a local restaurant breakdown, or do you think that there's maybe some important things we need to get to?
I mean, listen, but let me get one thing back, because there's been a lot of talk that JY wasn't JY last night. JY was JY.
No, there wasn't. No, there's not. No, there's not.
Let me tell you something. When you get the dynamic duo, you know what I'm saying? I can't. I wasn't allowed to say Stockton and Malone. And if we do Kobe to AD, like that, that's how we get that. See this? This is how we get that.
All right.
I missed that a little bit last time. I'm not gonna front.
All right. So, JY, this guy's the best, man. JY, let me stick with the WNBA, and then maybe we'll do some restaurant stuff later. All right? Aces, Mystics. Either the Aces get over 500, or they lose this game, and they'll have a worse record than the Mystics. What do you expect here from Aja Wilson and the gang?
Listen, if I do anything with this game, number one, I like Jewel Lloyd over 1.5 made threes. I think this is a spot where she can get going. She's got to get going, Kevin. She's got to be much better. And I think the 1.5 made threes is something she can get to. I look at Kiki Iriafen, depending on how you pronounce it, Iriafen. I feel like it changes every week. Over her rebounding prop, if you look at it, Las Vegas rebounds the ball a ton. She's got to deal with Asia on the boards. So look for her to go over 7.5 rebounds. Here's how I play the game. Washington is sneaky good. They just came off a really good win at home versus the Lynx. I do believe by double digits. If I'm not mistaken. I want to play this game live because I think the Mystics have shown that they will hang around with teams. And if I can get this thing down to about 3.5, 4.5, I win the free throw game late, and I take the Aces minus the points in game.
All right, so something to watch. I'm on Aja Wilson over the 9.5 rebounds in this one for a best bet. I know the game just started, but I'll remind people for the team and how they're approaching the best bet market. We've got a hit parlay for Juan Soto and Matt Olson, and then 2+ bases for Ronald Acuna Jr. If you are looking to get involved with the Mets-Braves game, which is just getting underway. Twins-Mariners update, by the way. Minnesota has totally opened that game up. 2 runs in the 5th, 4 runs so far in the 6th, leading Seattle 6-0 right now. We're here with Coach James Young. We're live on SportsGrid, and we've got round number 2 coming up. We've talked quite a bit about the Rasheer Fleming news, who is likely headed towards Phoenix at pick 31 after their trade with Minnesota. JY, we are still seeing odds for pick 32, and it is pretty funny how it works out. There were 2 names primarily linked to the Boston Celtics at pick 28. Ryan Kalkbrenner of Creighton and Maxime Reynaud of Stanford. Both projected to still be on the board. Reynaud currently priced at minus 125. Kalkbrenner priced at plus 250. Let me start with this, JY. Did you have a big gap between these 2 bigs, or do you see them quite similarly?
No, I see them quite similarly. If maybe Renard's a little bit more offensive based. Obviously, we know how great Ryan Kalkbrenner was. The only player I do believe, besides Patrick Ewing, to be 4-time Defensive Player of the Year in the Big East. So when you kind of look at it, I had my centers with Maliwatch, Wolf, Renard, Kalkbrenner, Yang Hassan. Right, so that's how they go in regard to my centers. If you look at my big board as I pull it up, Renault was 31, Kalkbrenner was 32. So they were really I don't think you go wrong with either pick. I guess if you want to take a little bit of a swing on a little bit more money, maybe you go with Ryan Kalkbrenner. But either or, they need to look at replacing not only Kristaps Porzingis, but let's remember, folks, Al Horford, free agent, and Luke Cornett, I do believe, free agent as well. So that would be someone they would look to bring in, someone like a Kalkbrenner or Maxime Reynaud.
I will say on Kalkbrenner, let me ask you this, JY. How slanderous is it if I bring up Zach Edey's name while trying to sell people on Ryan Kalkbrenner? Because Kalkbrenner has, I believe, the record as far back as Basketball Reference goes for career offensive rating for a men's college basketball player. Now, that does not go back 50, 60 years. It goes back more 15, 16 years, but it is still incredibly impressive. We know he can defend the rim. He's been willing to shoot the basketball. I am not saying Kalkbrenner should have gone top 10, but if Zach Edey was able to push himself into the top 10, I was a little surprised Kalkbrenner ended up not worth a first-round pick.
Yeah, it's about need. And here's the thing, folks. If you want to compare Renard to the Kalkbrenner, Renard is probably the better shooter, maybe a little bit more skilled in a post, but Kalkbrenner is the better defensive presence, but also wasn't asked to do as much at times. I thought the problem with Ryan Kalkbrenner is I'm not saying that he took games off or plays off, but because of all the other guards that they've had over the years, Ashworth, Kaluma, I mean, I can go on and on. I mean, I'm blanking on guys. Shireman, right? He never got a chance to be that guy. I think that Kalkbrenner could be that guy. Listen, I think Kalkbrenner, ready for this, Kev? I think in the right system, the right fit, he could have a better college career than Zach Edey. I think he can.
We just lost coach. A rarity to lose coach like that. But that's okay because we are going to be coming up against a break here. When we come back, we've got one more segment with Coach. I want to get his thoughts as we've kind of allowed round one, as we've allowed round number one to, digest what JY thinks. Also, we have a treat for people coming up at 7:30. I would not go anywhere. That's all. I think that treat might have somehow impacted us losing coach. We'll be right back with you here on Game Time Decisions.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scott, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. Don't worry about the first 5 innings. Don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game Time Decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course and okay, safe, right?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, with you right here on SportsGrid, Kevin Walsh, Coach James Young, and JY. I want to go back to yesterday, and I want to just start with the best player in the draft. We agree, along with everyone agrees, Cooper Flagg, because there is one rumor around Cooper that does come with a little bit of uncertainty. Cooper Flagg knows he is going to be a Dallas Maverick. Does Cooper Flagg know who his coach is going to be? Cooper Flagg was asked about this after being selected by Dallas. Here's what he had to say.
For being here in New York, there's a ton of speculation about Jason Kidd, potentially even the Mavs to coach the Knicks. Has he given you any assurance that he'll be your coach? And if so, what do you kind of hope to learn from him?
I mean, no, I haven't had those conversations yet at all. But I think talking with, Coach Kidd, my workout, and even after I got picked, I was on the phone with him for a minute. I think he's just excited. He has a good vision for me and what I can do and how I can impact the game. So I'm excited to just talk to him more.
JY, I just want to ask your thoughts on whether or not Cooper Flagg is absolutely going to be coached by Jason Kidd this year, or if the Knicks stuff not going away is telling.
I think his answer was very telling, that there's a chance still that Jason Kidd's heading to New York. Simply put, what we saw Houston shut it down immediately. But what happened right after that, Kev? Ime Udoka got a contract extension. So if Dallas wanted to keep Jason Kidd, he would have signed an extension already or used the Knicks as leverage. So to me, listen, Jason Kidd enjoyed his time as a New Jersey Net, has a place in New York City, is extremely close with Jalen Brunson, extremely close with Rick Brunson. I think this has legs to it. And to me, the Knicks are farting around interviewing all these coaches. I think that there's a chance that he still ends up in New York. And I think Cooper's Flagg's answer, Kevin, kind of gave it away, too, that he doesn't think, in a sense, that Jason Kidd's going to be there.
It's going to be fascinating to see when the dust finally does settle. Doesn't stop Cooper Flagg from being a odds-on favorite right now to win Rookie of the Year next year, Coach. And we'll have plenty of time to dive into that. But is there a pick from yesterday that you find yourself still thinking about, 24 hours or so later?
Yeah, Yak Jonas going 20 to Miami is just an absolute steal. I mean, you look at the fact that he steps in a lineup where if they don't start Davion Mitchell, he is a smart player, can get you in the offense and knock down an occasional three when needed. So you look at Yak Jonas in regard to what he does. I'm going to tell you something really quick about the odds, folks. And if they can pull up the odds real quick, guys, for a Rookie of the Year, with Ace Bailey and Johnson being right behind Cooper Flagg, I want people to understand it. There's two different things that happen here. Number one, Ace Bailey's numbers will move as one of these four guys gets moved. John Collins, Laurie Marketing, Colin Sexton, and Jordan Clarkson. At the end of the day, all four of them jokers, at least three of them you keep marketing, should be off and gone. Everyone that I think leaves, I think reduces Ace Bailey's number by $1. Trey Johnson is completely different. Washington's in this interesting spot. Olynyk, Smart, McCollum, and Middleton are all free agents after this year. It's $100 million coming off the cap. They're in an interesting spot. Loaded draft class at 26. Their pick is protected, I think, 1 through 10. If it's higher than that, it goes to New York. What does Washington do? Don't touch Johnson now unless you know that Washington's not going to go for it. They start tanking, they sell off, and then you get in on Johnson. The problem is, I think it may be too late. Better chance to look at Bailey, because I think one or two of those guys could be gone in the offseason.
Great breakdown as always there from JY. I will let people know that we will talk a little more about the Rookie of the Year award at the end of our show tonight. JY, appreciate it as always, and make sure you root in what should already be a guarantee that Rasheer Fleming goes 31.
Oh, root for the whole team.
Oh, wait, JY, hold on. Any quick 10-second thoughts on the restaurant Mezcal?
I never had mezcal.
Whoa!
Is it good?
Whoa! Under the Hat restaurant. Whoa!
Ready? Hey, folks, ready? I'm gonna give it a plug. 618 in Freehold.
Yeah, right. It's the only place this guy's ever been to. We got a treat for the people coming up next right here on SportsGrid.
How you doing?
can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scotty, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. Don't worry about the first 5 innings. Like, don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I do not believe, I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course and okay, safe, right?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions right here on SportsGrid with a treat for the people. You know, we've got NBA done now, right? And everyone goes, football's around the corner. But I don't like how they rush to the NFL. It doesn't start first. College football starts first. And if we're talking college football, we bring in the big guns. Mr. Joe Lisi, go for the two. Superstar Joe Lisi makes some time in his busy schedule for us. Joe, I'm overwhelmed with gratitude.
Oh, well, I'm very happy to be here. I was told that you were chomping at the bit to get me on the show. I said, wow, throw some bouquets. Where's the red carpet? I've missed you. Haven't seen you since February. So this is I've had withdrawal. Now we're starting to get back into the mix.
I think the guys in the back were like, I don't know, Kevin might be mad at us. We know exactly what'll make him smile. And then, boom, Joe Lisi appears. Lisi, I was figuring, man, what could we get into in terms of the college football board that people right now will be thinking about? And I know it's chalk. I know it's the team at the top. But Arch Manning is the favorite to win the Heisman. Texas is favored to win the national championship. As we sit here on the cusp of July, not too far away from the season, how do you feel right now about Arch Manning and Sark and what Texas can actually put together next season?
Well, I feel good in the sense, Kev, that they could be a 10-win football team, 10-2. But am I buying in to Arch Manning and Texas at a plus 290 number to win a national championship? Or more importantly, challenge Georgia or some of the other teams in the conference to win an SEC championship in year number one? No, I would bet them to make the college football playoff. I think they've shown that in back-to-back years with Quinn Ewers. They made it the first year a couple of years ago against Washington and lost against Ohio State. But there's some question marks. You know, they lose Matt Golden, their leading wide receiver, to Green Bay. They lose Isaiah Bond, another wide receiver that helped out during periods last year. They lose Gunnar Helm, their tight end. They lose both running backs that basically contributed. C.J. Baxter comes back, but he's got concerns in terms of injury. And on the defensive side of the ball, the secondary was lights out, but they lose talent on that unit. And that is the concern for me when you back this team and say, okay, Are they going to be an 11 or a 12-win football team? Are they going to be the team to beat with the bullseye on their back? I just can't buy in June or July in terms of that number right now.
You know, it's interesting because that team starts at Ohio State, and we know that that is going to move so many of the numbers, Joe, for Arch, for Texas, for the Buckeyes. It won't impact the SEC odds, though, right? That game is out of conference. Yeah. When we look at those SEC odds, does LSU jump out to you with Nussmeier coming back at a 7-1 price? I feel like there's going to be a lot of buzz for Baton Rouge this season.
Yeah, I've said it all off season on the radio side, Kev. I'm buying into LSU and the LSU Tigers and Brian Kelly. I know I'm a homer, and you could say that in recent years, but it's do or die for Brian Kelly as a coach in the conference. Let's not forget, year number 1, they go in there, they win the SEC West, they beat Nick Saban in Alabama. They've regressed ever since that point. And when you look at this team, just from an offensive perspective, Arch Manning getting all the fanfare, all the hype, and rightfully so, right? He's got the name, he's got the team, he's got the money behind him. But Garrett Nussmeier has potentially the best wide receiver core in all of college football. Aaron Anderson, you bring in Nick Anderson that transferred in from Oklahoma, Barry and Brown, a big play wide receiver from Kentucky. They are going to chuck the football all over the yard. The concern is, can the defense with Weeks and Perkins coming back from injury and Blake Baker, can they take the next level? When you see an 8.5 number on them, he has to get through that. He's on the hot seat, Brian Kelly. So I'm buying into the 7-1 price. I'm buying into the 18-1 number for them to win a national championship. And I'm on their win total over 8.5. Put it this way. He doesn't get there, Brian Kelly, he's going to hear it in Death Valley.
I don't want to get lost in like Harold Perkins Jr., Joe, but I'll tell you this. I feel like if I end up, come August, also being in on LSU, it's going to have a lot to do with that kid who a few years ago looked like he was going to. I don't think it is wrong to say that the early season hype Harold Perkins Jr. created was similar to what Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams created. Now, Smith ended up winning a national championship. Offense can be better than, more exciting than defense, but man, that kid Perkins had buzz. Speaking of Ryan Williams, you had questions around Kalen DeBoer, year number 1 with Alabama. And at one point, they're the number 1 team in the country. They end up missing the college football playoff. I imagine there's a lot of pressure heading into year number 2.
There is, and you lose Jalen Milroe, and that is the question mark. Let's not forget the games that they dominated, specifically Georgia. It was Jalen Milroe running for 4 touchdowns in the first half, right? He was running all over the yard on that Georgia defense. Ty Simpson's not as mobile. It's a different scheme. Ryan Williams, best player with Jeremiah Smith coming back at the wide receiver position. But again, they have to get to 10-2 or 11-1. That's unacceptable in terms of back-to-back years in Tuscaloosa. Can they do it? And here's the thing. And they played well at times, right? And Jalen Milroe is a dynamic talent. You take him out of the offense. Look at the games that they struggle with. They struggled with South Carolina in the middle part of the year, right? Had a big lead, allowed it to come back, right? They struggled against Georgia in the second half. They lost to Vanderbilt. That was with Jalen Milroe. They lost games they shouldn't have, and that was with potentially one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the country. Is Ty Simpson going to duplicate that on the ground or through the air? I just can't buy in. They might be 9-3, but I'm selling them.
Quarterback questions for Bama. Quarterback questions for Georgia? Or am I supposed to buy into the Gunnar Stockton hype? He got some valuable reps last year. He definitely comes in with less hype, Joe, than, of course, Carson Beck did last year.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. He's experienced now. Georgia's going to win it, though, not with just the quarterback. They're going to win it in terms of the interior line. Do you believe that Kirby Smart can elevate that defense up above where they were last year and get them back to championship form? They can run the football effectively. He recruits better than anybody in the conference in the interior line. That's where games are won or lost. Gunnar Stockton could be that game manager just as long as he doesn't turn the football over. they're one of my best bets. If you gave me money right now and said bet on a team, it would be Georgia because of the interior line play and Kirby Smart. Second, I would bet LSU. That's where the value is for me.
Is there a team, Joe? And I know, look, there's a clear top four, but is there one of these teams a little bit further down the board that you know you're out on? Someone's going to try and make the case, and they're just getting a little too cute. You know that team should not actually be in the race?
Yes, it's Ole Miss. And you know me, I love Lane Kiffin. But when you take away Walter Nolan and a team that had 80 rushing yards from a defensive perspective, you lose Jackson Dart. You have a number of 8.5. Do we believe Austin Simmons, in terms of the road starts in Athens, in some of the difficult places, are going to pull those games out? I just don't see it. 8.5 is juice to the over. I'm selling Ole Miss this year. Give me the plus money at plus 128.
I'll tell you one thing, Joe, I find myself, every time I hear it, wanting to push back on is this idea that John Mateer is going to come into the SEC and run roughshod. Exciting player, Joe. This kid was playing in the Pac-2. That is a jump up in class, man.
It is. I think he's better than Jackson Arnold, though. I'll give him his props in that aspect. Jackson Arnold, deer in the headlights. I do like Oklahoma as a flyer, but I would also take a shot on South Carolina.
All right, certainly all for us to have our eye on. Maybe we'll try and check in with Lisi a little more frequently, get his thoughts on all of these major conferences. What an absolute treat. Make sure you're watching Carver and Lisi tonight, by the way. We're going to talk some golf next on SportsGrid.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scott, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. Don't worry about the first 5 innings. Don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course and okay, safe, right?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions with you here on SportsGrid. A couple updates on the live board. Still scoreless in Mets-Braves. It is 10-0 Minnesota as they are going to cap off that series against the Mariners with a win. Fever leading the Sparks by 4 as that one is approaching halftime, playing well towards that under, something we have seen in the Fever's games this season without Caitlin Clark. Another area you may be betting today, looking to bet heading towards the weekend, is the golf with the Rocket Mortgage Classic. And to help us talk about it, we bring in Brady Cannon. And Brady, I got to say, I opened the page to see the outright, who's moved, and I thought I was getting a different tour. Where are the names that we were talking about? I didn't know Kevin Roy and Max Gracerman needed to be on the radar. What happened in round number 1 at the Rocket Mortgage?
Well, it is a birdie fest. We have had quite the run on the PGA Tour as of late. The last 7 weeks, we've had 3 signature events and 2 major championships. So it's finally a couple weeks here where everybody can breathe easier for a minute. Like I say, a couple birdie fests coming up. We've got the John Deere Classic next week. Of course, the Rocket Classic this week. And I mean, you see the scores there. A couple guys you mentioned, Roy Podgitar, a couple of 62s, Andrew Putnam, Minwoo Lee, so yeah, the big names. I mean, there wasn't a ton of big names in this field to begin with. You have Patrick Cantlay, Keegan Bradley, Colin Morikawa. Cantlay was the best of the bunch there, finished 6 under today. Keegan Bradley at 4 under. Morikawa surprises me here, Kevin. It was funny. He did a press conference after the round and jokingly said he putted like a blind man or something like that. He was literally 156th, dead last in the field today for strokes gained putting. He lost over 4.5 strokes on the greens to the field and actually played pretty decent otherwise. He was 38th for strokes gained off the tee and 9th in strokes gained approach. That's pretty good. But, to still be 3 under, I guess, is not bad. But, boy, 55-1 is now his number, which is the same number on a lot of guys that are 3 or 4 shots ahead of him. I don't know if I want to run to the window and bet Morikawa. He just doesn't, I didn't bet him pre-tournament because it doesn't seem like the guy is ready to win yet. He's had so many near misses the last couple of seasons, and it seems to almost be in his head now. But just looking at the numbers, you're like, okay, it makes sense that the putter is going to improve here, and Colin Morikawa might be a good buy at 5 times the price we had him, offered on him pre-tournament. But I'm just not ready to back him yet, Kevin.
Yeah, it's always a tough push and pull, right, when the scoring can be so low. Does that suggest, hey, 7 shots back after 1, no worries, or the winner of this tournament is going to finish minus 20 and you're at minus 3. So that's a lot to put on a player's plate. Who is catching your eye right now? We've got 3 golfers under 10-1 that I see here on the FanDuel Sportsbook. It looks like maybe 8 or 9 guys under 25-1. Anyone jumping out specifically?
Yeah, if you just kind of look towards the top of the leaderboard, I think Podgitar and Roy right at the top. I don't know if they're going to win, but the profile sets up really nicely so far. They're doing everything very well, and there's nothing that's an outlier where you think they're going to regress one way or another. They look to be in good position, and obviously they're out to a great start. Minwoo Lee, no, it was all about the putter today. He was 74th off the tee, 123rd in driving accuracy, 77th in greens and regulation. He did it with the putter today. I don't want any part of that. Same with Wyndham Clark, 99th in this field for stroke gained approach. He's just been awful with the irons as of late, and it didn't improve today. The other one is Cameron Young, who the golf crew on SportsGrid here, we all jumped on the Cameron Young train this week. Carver, Stewart, and Cannon, the law firm, is all on Cameron Young, but the only thing he did well today was putt. Everything else was pretty sporadic. So those are my 3 guys that I would probably look to go against. Like I say, Podgitar and Roy, I think, are fine. I think Lee Hodges is one to look at 45. Davis Thompson is one to look at 28. And Matt Fitzpatrick at 55. He had a day where he was 5th in his iron play on approach, but 141st with the putter. And Matt Fitzpatrick is a good putter. So if that putter improves for the Englishman, And he was a popular pick this week. A lot of sharp people liked Matt Fitz, and yeah, he is positioned to certainly improve from what he did today.
Wyndham Clark also just looks like, not even from a maybe betting perspective, but just from a interest perspective, a name to watch here, Brady, where, of course, Wyndham Clark burst onto the scene whenever you win a major championship, but was one of the top guys at the Travelers, right, from, the early portions of that, finished with a top 20. This is not somebody who's really been able to string consecutive results together this season. I'm interested to see how Wyndham Clark can play these next 3 rounds.
We just hope he doesn't, bust up a locker room like he did at Oakmont, But I'm kidding. You're inconsistent is absolutely the word. You're spot on. It's really been, in my mind, ever since last year's Masters. He made the cut there in 2024, but he's never really had the form that we saw off of that U.S. Open win, when he finished runner-up to Scotty at the Players. And he's been all over the place. The best finish he's had recently was, again, as you note, last week at the Travelers. And another point, I know a lot of sharp people that thought that was going to continue and like him this week. He's gotten off to hot starts before. And looking at how he did this today, I'm not buying it. I think he's a fade the rest of the way. Does he finish top 30, 40? Yeah, probably. But I don't know where his game is at right now, Kevin.
Let me see if I get what is his current finishing position expectation here. We're seeing they don't have the top 20s up just yet. That's interesting. Yeah, Clark, though, plus 240 for a top 10. So it's not like the books are running to push this guy across the finish line. Brady, appreciate it as always. Best of luck with the tournament. We'll talk some best bets on the way out next.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scott, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. Don't worry about the first 5 innings. Don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course and okay, safe, right?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. We're closing it out on a Thursday night. Been a treat these past 90 minutes. Appreciate Coach Brady and, of course, Joe Lisi stopping by here. If you did miss our best bets at the top of the show, we Have two of them in action right now, so don't be scared to root it in. Need a hit from Matt Olson, a hit from Juan Soto. There's only been one hit in that game so far, so it's not going great, but it's like no blame, right? Because it's just a slow start. Cunha Jr., 2 bags. I am on Aja Wilson, over 9.5 rebounds, even money. I really, really like Aja tonight in a bounce-back spot on the glass against the Mystics, who continue to gain steam in the market, by the way. A 6.5-point spread now, looking around here in one spot, still a flat 7 available in some others. We're going to do our crystal ball, and I want to start by talking about what ended up our most noteworthy selection for the team, and I guess by product of me, a little bit, and how I felt about a decision that was made. Realistically, the most noteworthy thing that happened was Cooper Flagg went first overall. Then it was probably where Ace Bailey landed up with the Utah Jazz. The Derek Queen trade up from New Orleans was absolutely impactful. But if you've been following our social channels, and make sure you follow them everywhere, SportsGrid available, of course, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the different places. But you probably saw the reaction that I ended up having when Yegor Demon of BYU ended up the pick for the Brooklyn Nets. If you're a Nets fan, maybe don't seek it out. Anyone else? Head on over to the social channels and check that out. I set that up because our Crystal Ball segment, which we typically do here on a Thursday, features a pair of picks inside the Rookie of the Year market, attempting to find some value perhaps. Yarnell goes to Trey Johnson at a plus 850 price. I'm going to Kasparis Yakachonis at 60 to 1. To make my case first, Cooper Flagg is a rightful favorite. I think the minus number already is a product of the fact the draft was yesterday. That number will likely drop by the time we get to October, but not drop all that far because Cooper Flagg is that good. And the projected success that Dallas seemingly is going to be associated with could give him a leg up on a guy like an Ace Bailey or Trey Johnson, who are the two second options on the board, where, hey, Cooper Flagg's going to be playing postseason basketball. Utah and Washington don't have those same projections. I think the case for Trey Johnson is a similar one for Ace Bailey of he could lead the class in scoring. My pushback on Trey, and I'm not even going to knock Trey Johnson, I think Washington has a lot more talent on that basketball team right now than we've entered into years past. I'm not sure Trey Johnson is starting on the Washington Wizards. And not because, I can't stand Trey Johnson. But McCollum and Smart and Bilal and Bob Carrington are all 4 guys who are going to be getting consideration to be inside that starting lineup. And even if you think he ends up beating out Marcus Smart, if McCollum is starting, Trey Johnson's not starting next to him. So I would not be running to the window now on Trey Johnson. But I do think Yakachonis at 60 to 1 has a chance to start for Miami, especially if that team pivots a little bit and embraces the fact that a youth movement could be the way to go. They just need point guard help as is. And a 60 to 1 number, I think, could be down to 40 to 1 with a couple of good summer league games. Saving the best for last, Casino Chris, who would never say a bad word about my takes, I'm sure, has Ohio State to miss the college football playoff at plus 240. That sounds like a screenshot and send it mid-season to our guy Casino Chris. Appreciate you stopping by. In-game live is next on SportsGrid.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitchers battle and using the words Patrick